Coming up this weekend, we have a big-time bantamweight clash, and one of these women, a 2004 silver medalist in freestyle wrestling, the other sent former title challenger Betch Correia into retirement. It is Karol Rosa taking on Sara McMann.
What's a bigger accomplishment, do you think?
Betch had a lot of promo for that fight, and I don't know why they made it, because it was very, very silly. And for Karol Rosa, you look at it, undefeated in the UFC, split decision, all volume fight against Lara Procopio, able to defend the takedown. She beats Vanessa Mello, somebody who fought and didn't know she was pregnant at one point in her lifetime. Gets a win over Jocelyn Edwards, implements the wrestling, but also gets taken down. The only person to take her down, and she has over 90% takedown defense in her 4 UFC fights. And then the win over Betch Correia, that wasn't very close. Now, for Sara McMann, former title challenger, we know this, you know this, 5-6 in the UFC, and it's been a rocky road. I mean, 1-3 in her last 4. I go back to her fight against Gina Mazzani, a big win.
How could I forget?
Exactly, and we can delve into that
one. Mazzani missed weight and accepted it on a week's notice, so let's admit that too, but...
That much is true, but I mean, for McMann, she gets a win in her UFC debut, she challenges Ronda Rousey. When it comes to this fight, Matt, we look at Sara McMann, and again, last time out gets submitted by your champion? Juliana Pena in the 3rd round. A win over Lena Landsberg, the elbow queen. A loss to Marion Renault. A loss to Ketlin Vieira. And a fight against Gina Mazzani. That was 5 years ago. So Sara McMann, not the most active fighter, but you know exactly what you're going to get out of her every single damn time. It's going to be a lot of arm triangle choke attempts. It's going to be, realistically, when you look at it for Sara McMann, it is wrestle all the time.
Wrestle, and no defensive jiu-jitsu whatsoever. And that really is the story about Sara McMann. She is such a physically dominant wrestler when she's able to implement her own will, but defensively, she's always left a lot to be desired, and that really has been her issue throughout her whole entire career, just the submission defense. And let's be honest, it's more the striking defense too, because with Sara McMann, offensively, she's a really good fighter. She has decent boxing combinations. She really is a team alpha male fighter, which is weird to say. Sara McMann, you wouldn't think of someone who goes to team alpha male, but really likes to wrestle, really likes to box, similar to that extreme couture style. But the issue with McMann was, defensively with her striking and with her grappling, I just never really know where I should put her, even when she was in her prime, because when she was the one on top, using her ground and pound, she's so physically strong compared to most women in this division. Like, you would look at her opponents and be like, well, they're never getting out from under her. She had that Gregor Gillespie type of a style. But then you look at the Ketlin Vieira fight. And yes, Ketlin is a phenomenal grappler. We're not taking anything away from her. But Sara McMann, like you said, is an Olympic silver medalist wrestler. She's also a very good grappler, so we have very high standards for her as well. She gets top position, goes for the arm triangle choke, can't get it, and then Vieira immediately sweeps her, gets on top, and chokes her out with that exact same choke. And she could have choked her with a rear naked choke. It's not just the fact that she used the same submission that McMann was going for. It's just that you can't go from getting a dominant submission and being in the position to get the submission to getting submitted only a minute later. And that really has been the story about Sara McMann throughout her career. Great wrestler when she's on top, but the second the roles get reversed and she does find herself on her back, she's not great at getting back up to her feet, which is kind of odd because even with Yoel Romero, somebody we talked about a lot for his offensive grappling, even if he got taken down, he popped back up to his feet like it was nothing. Go back and watch the Chris Weidman fight. Talking way more about Yoel than I thought I would, but two really good wrestlers. And when Weidman would take Yoel down, it was like he had springs on his back. He'd jump right back up to his feet. With McMann, she can get held down, and she is quite inactive off of her back. And that's something I've always worried about, especially as she's gotten older. But this is a weird fight against Karol Rosa, too, because this is what I'll give it off to you on. Karol Rosa, at least her last 2 fights, has been much better than her opponents. And even going into the Betch Correia fight, Betch wasn't all in on that fight. It was a retirement fight. I vividly remember saying in the prediction video, like, I expect Rosa to win for no other reason than I just don't think Correia is showing up to win. And Rosa won that, and she looked really good. But again, beating a Betch Correia who had 1 foot out isn't proving to me that you are a top 15 deserving fighter. And here's sort of the cop-out. If she beats Sara McMann, maybe that won't prove it to me either, because McMann is another one of these fighters who, on her best day, looks very good, and on her worst day, doesn't look great. So it sucks for Rosa, because it feels like no matter what the result of this fight is, at least for me, and just because I'm saying it doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm gonna need to see her fight at least one more fighter who I have more confidence in, who's at least considered in the prime of their career. That's something I would really like to see moving forward, but I do expect her to be able to get this win over Sara McMann, really due to her striking volume, because with McMann, a very stiff striker, especially on the feet, and with Rosa, she can mix in the kick, she has great volume. But, again, everything comes down to the wrestling offense of Sara McMann.
Yeah, I mean, if anything hinges on anything in this fight, it's what version of Sara McMann do we get? Because for Karol Rosa, you look at it, I love the level of competition outside of the UFC. A loss to Gisele Moreira, who you're going to see on a ton of records, not just in Brazil, but all over the place. You look at it, a loss to Larissa Pacheco. Well, again, she just fought with the PFL not that long ago in their headliner for the championship, and she had a lot of success over there. A loss to Melissa Gatto in the first round, where
don't grapple with that lady.
Rosa's winning the first round, and then she's on top, and Gatto just kind of grabs it, ends up with a weird Kimura. But in the UFC, and again, Rosa is able to get the win back over a Moreira, finishes her, ends up in the UFC, beats Procopio by split decision. It's a wild fight. You got to go back. It's a lot of fun to watch. But again, like, you beat Vanessa Melo. I don't learn anything out of that one. You beat Bethe Correia. It's not that great. Like, she looked good in that fight.
And the Jocelyn Edwards win is a good one, too. But again, Jocelyn's another fighter who we don't really know that much about right now. She's also going to need a lot more time to develop. So the wins that Rosa has, they're good wins. They just don't really tell us that much.
But the thing about Karol Rosa is she really mixes it up to all three levels. She can really work behind a nice jab. She can mix in her leg kicks. The one thing you worry about is, if you're going kick heavy against Sara McMann, you're going to get taken down. So for me, I look at this fight. I mean, Rosa has a giant advantage in terms of the age. She's 14 friggin' years younger. We don't say that very often in MMA. And you look at it, I mean, definitely the more active fighter. I know not that long ago there were bits of inactivity. But again, for Sara McMann, 5 years ago was her fifth to last fight. The last time she came out against Juliana Pena, who is your champion. That was a year and a month ago. Before that, the win over Lena Landsberg 2 years ago. Lena is a primary striker if I've ever seen one. So
the elbow queen.
We look at the odds for this one. McMann open to plus 170, plus 182 right now. For Karol Rosa, open to plus 200, minus 228. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprise to us as they are to you. I'm going to say over under 70% Rosa.
I'll say over.
They've been skewed this week. Yeah, 979. Holy smokes. 87% going with Rosa, 84% by decision for the 13% that are McMann, 74% by decision. So not that surprising here. And I mean, for me, again, I really do like Karol Rosa. I like the defensive hips against most other fighters. Sara McMann's a different fighter. And again, she has had good takedown defense, has Rosa in the UFC. Edwards was able to get one, but I think she got like 2 seconds of control time. Like, again, Rosa was right back up again. So I don't really put too much stock into that one. It's just, what McMann do we get? I do, though, expect Rosa to win out in this one.
So could the best version of Sara McMann beat Karol Rosa? Of course she could, without a doubt. But that'd be like waiting 4 years for LeBron James and then still expecting him to win MVP. He's 37 years old and people think he's ancient for his sport. Sara McMann's 41 in a sport where you take a lot of punishment in, where it kind of makes you age a lot faster due to the injuries and due to the damage that you take throughout your career. I just don't think we're going to see the best version of Sara McMann. And even if there is a small chance that we do see it, that chance is fairly small given her age and given her experience in the sport. Her losses, especially as of late, aren't bad whatsoever, but it's really hard to expect the best version of Sara McMann this weekend, and that's why I like Karol Rosa. I expect her to really shine through with her volume striking, but it will be interesting if this is really going to prove, wow, Karol Rosa, she might defend a few takedowns early and really build as the fight goes on. That'd be the type of performance that could get me on board, but I think this could be a very important fight for her career.
Speaking about on board, this could be the springboard to get Karol Rosa into the lexicon of Joe Rogan to say, wow, that girl, she's nasty. But a big time opportunity for both these women in the bantamweight division. Will it be a career resurgence for Sara McMann, 2004 Olympic silver medalist?
She starts training in Connecticut with Glover. Teach me your ways.
And a big-time opportunity for Karol Rosa as well. Both of us going with the Brazilian in this matchup. Let us know down below in the comment section who you have. Big-time fights, especially in the women's flyweight division. You've got Jennifer Maia taking on Manon Fiorot. You also have in the co-main event, Joanne Wood taking on Alexa Grasso. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.